What happens when an industry built on fantasy suddenly collides with raw, unapologetic truth? This isn't just another K-pop fairy tale. This is the story of Bane, real name Song Byung-hee, the first idol in Korean history to come out as gay while still an active member of a boy group. In a world where image control is everything, where every smile, every lyric, and every fan interaction is carefully manufactured to fit a heterosexual ideal, Bane stood on stage and shattered the biggest taboo in K-pop. His confession sent shockwaves through the industry, dividing fans, grabbing headlines, and forcing Korea's entertainment world to confront a truth it had buried for decades. Fame, fear, and one history-making moment of bravery. This is the story of the idol who risked it all to live authentically. Before the world knew him as Bane, before the stage lights, the fan chants, and the history-making headlines, there was just a boy named Song Byung-hee. Born on May 4, 2001, in the bustling city of Daejeon, South Korea, Byung-hee was like any other child, with one small exception. He never saw life as something to live quietly. Even as a kid, Byung-hee had a spark that couldn't be ignored. While most kids were busy chasing after soccer balls or glued to their gaming consoles, he spent his free time in front of the mirror, choreographing imaginary performances. The wooden floor of his bedroom became his first stage. A hairbrush became his first microphone. And every applause he imagined was a rehearsal for the day he believed would come, when the cheers would be real. Growing up in a traditional Korean household, the idea of becoming a singer, a dancer, an entertainer wasn't exactly on his family's dream list for him. There were expectations, good grades, a stable career, maybe engineering or law. But Byung-hee's heart had other plans. He wasn't the kind of boy who could sit still in class without tapping his feet to an internal beat. Music wasn't just background noise, it was a language he felt deep in his bones. By the time he hit middle school, that passion only intensified. He began participating in school talent shows, singing contests, and dance battles with friends. Anything that allowed him to perform. Teachers noticed. Friends noticed. Even his family, initially skeptical, started realizing this wasn't just a phase. There was something undeniably captivating about him when he stood under a spotlight, even if that spotlight was just a single ceiling bulb in a classroom. But chasing a K-pop dream is never easy. In South Korea, the journey to becoming an idol is like entering a marathon where only a handful reach the finish line. And everyone starts running from the age of 12, 13, sometimes younger. The competition is brutal. The rejection rate, even worse. But none of that scared Byung-hee. If anything, it motivated him. At just 15 years old, in October 2016, Byung-hee passed auditions and was accepted as a trainee under LGBTQ Entertainment, one of Korea's well-known entertainment companies. It was a dream come true, but it also marked the beginning of the most grueling chapter of his young life. Gone were the carefree days of dancing for fun. Now, every day was a test. His daily schedule transformed overnight. Wake up before sunrise, vocal training, dance rehearsals that pushed his body to the limit, language classes, personality development sessions, monthly evaluations where one bad performance could mean getting cut. Trainee life was designed to break you, to weed out the weak, and mold only the strongest into idols. Many of his fellow trainees didn't make it past the first few months. But Bane, he stayed, he endured. For 2 intense years, Byung-hee fought silently, against exhaustion, against self-doubt, against the fear that no matter how hard he worked, it still might not be enough. There were days when his voice cracked during high notes, nights when his legs gave out after hours of dance repetition, moments when he called home and asked himself if this path was worth it. But no matter how rough it got, one thought pulled him through. I didn't come this far just to give up now. And while LGBTQ Entertainment didn't debut him, those years weren't wasted. The experience toughened him, sharpened his skills, and prepared him for whatever challenge would come next. By 2018, he took a leap of faith and joined MBC's survival show, Under 19. Competing alongside dozens of young hopefuls, Byung-hee showcased his refined vocal control, sharp dance moves, and a stage presence that felt far beyond his years. Although he didn't make it to the final debut lineup, this experience was another stepping stone. It proved to both himself and the world that he wasn't just chasing a dream, he was actively building one. After under 19, many expected him to fade from the industry, another talented trainee lost in the system. But Bane wasn't done. Far from it. He joined other trainee groups, including Play M Boys and the Crew One, spending years in what some call idol limbo. That frustrating space between training and debut, where dreams can either survive or shatter. Yet through every setback, every missed opportunity, every sleepless night, one thing remained constant: his determination. If you ask any K-pop idol about their trainee days, chances are their face will shift. There's a look, part nostalgia, part trauma, that only those who've walked that path truly understand. For Bane, those years were both the most exhausting and the most transformative chapter of his life. After joining Lone Entertainment in late 2016, Bane quickly realized that being a trainee wasn't just about learning how to sing or dance. It was about survival. The training center wasn't a school, it was a pressure cooker. A place where hundreds of hopefuls competed for a spot that only a few would ever earn. The days started early, sometimes before the sun had even risen. Morning vocal warm-ups, afternoon dance rehearsals that stretched for hours, evening evaluations, then late-night self-practice. Sleep became a luxury. Free time? Non-existent. While other teenagers his age were hanging out at cafes, going on weekend dates, or stressing over high school exams, Bane was sweating it out in front of studio mirrors, perfecting every step, every note, every expression. Physically, the demands were relentless. Dance routines that required core strength, stamina, and precision timing. Vocal training that pushed his range higher and higher until his throat burned. The instructors were tough, sometimes brutally honest. A single wrong move in choreography? Do it again, 10 times. A missed note during vocal runs? Stay after class and fix it. But perhaps the hardest part was the mental game. Every month, there were evaluations. Trainees were ranked, judged, compared. Imagine pouring your heart and soul into training, only to hear that you're still not good enough to debut. Imagine watching friends, people you laughed with, cried with, pack their bags and leave after failing evaluations. Imagine living every day with the fear that tomorrow, you could be next. Bane faced those fears head-on. There were nights he stayed behind in the practice room long after others had gone home. Nights when he rehearsed alone, pushing himself past exhaustion. He became known among fellow trainees for his work ethic, quiet, focused, and relentless. But even the strongest trainees have moments of doubt. For Bane, that moment came in 2018 when he was offered a chance to participate in NBC's survival show Under 19. On paper, it was a golden opportunity, national exposure, a chance to debut in a new boy group, a platform to finally prove himself. He went in with everything he had. Throughout the show, Bane showcased what years of training had built. His vocals were solid, his dance lines were sharp, his presence magnetic. Viewers noticed, trainers noticed, fans started remembering his name. But when the final lineup was announced, Bane's name wasn't on the list. For a brief moment, everything went quiet. It felt like the air had been punched out of him. The disappointment was heavy, suffocating. He questioned everything. Was he just not good enough? Had he wasted years of his life chasing something impossible? Should he give up? But giving up was never really in his nature. After the show ended, Bane took time to reflect. Instead of drowning in self-pity, he got back to work. He joined other trainee groups, including Play M Boys and later the Crew One. These weren't glamorous gigs. There were no cameras, no screaming fans, just more late-night practices, more evaluations, more waiting. Friends who started with him dropped out one by one. Some left for college, some changed careers, some simply disappeared from the entertainment world. But Bane stayed. Every time management asked for extra practice hours, he volunteered. Every time there was a chance to improve, he showed up. Over the next 2 years, Bane transformed, not just as a performer, but as a person. He became sharper, stronger, more emotionally resilient. The pain of past failures fueled him. The loneliness of trainee life taught him self-reliance. The fear of never debuting became motivation to never stop. During this time, Bane also began exploring music beyond the idol system. He started writing, experimenting with melodies and lyrics, pouring his late-night emotions into notebooks and voice memos. While the industry saw him as just another trainee, Bane was slowly crafting the artist he would soon become. By early 2021, after nearly 5 grueling years as a trainee, an opportunity finally came knocking. Blue Dot Entertainment, a new label with a vision for launching a fresh boy group, began scouting for talent. Bane's name was at the top of their list. This time, it wasn't just a chance, it was his moment. For Bane, the road had been longer than most, filled with setbacks that could have broken him, but instead, it built him. Brick by brick, failures became lessons, pain became fuel, and when the announcement came that he would debut as a member of Just B, it wasn't just another line on his resume. It was the beginning of everything he had fought for. Little did the world know, the toughest battles and the most historic moments were still to come. After years of sweat, sacrifice, and silent resilience, 2021 finally became the year everything changed for Bane. On June 30th, 2021, the boy who had once stood alone in a practice room now stood shoulder to shoulder with 5 other members, ready to debut as part of a brand new K-pop group. Just B. Just B, short for Just Burn, was more than just another boy band entering an already saturated market. From the beginning, their concept was clear: passion, raw energy, and emotional authenticity. They weren't here to play it safe. They weren't interested in bubblegum pop formulas. Just B wanted to leave a mark, with music that hit hard and performances that left audiences breathless. For Bane, debuting under Blue Dot Entertainment felt like both a reward and the start of a new kind of pressure. After so many years as a trainee, he was no longer practicing for evaluations. This time, the world was watching. The group's debut track, Damage, set the tone. Explosive beats, aggressive choreography, lyrical themes that spoke about breaking free from control and fighting back against emotional suppression, something Bane knew all too well from his own journey. As Just B's main vocalist and lead dancer, Bane's role was pivotal. He wasn't just standing in the back filling space, he was front and center, his voice driving the emotional core of the song. His movements leading the group's sharp, synchronized dance breaks. The first time Bane stepped onto a live broadcast stage under the blinding lights of a music show, with fans finally screaming his name for real. It was surreal. The adrenaline, the fear, the excitement, all crashing together in one overwhelming wave. As the opening notes of Damage rang out, Bane took a deep breath, locked eyes with the camera, and delivered every lyric like it was the most important thing he'd ever say. And in many ways, it was. For the next few months, Just B hit the ground running. Promotional schedules were packed, music show appearances, interviews, dance practices that stretched late into the night, followed by early morning vocal warm-ups. But Bane thrived in the chaos. Every fan chant fueled him. Every album sale felt like personal validation for all the years spent in the shadows. Their next comeback, with the single TikTok, continued to build momentum. The song's haunting melody and intense choreography allowed Bane to showcase even more of his versatility. Whether hitting powerful high notes or executing complex dance formations with laser-sharp precision, Bane was proving again and again that he wasn't just filling a role, he was defining it. But perhaps one of the most exciting shifts in Bane's career came off stage. Inside recording studios and late-night writing sessions. Unlike many rookies who simply performed songs handed to them by producers, Bane started to explore his own voice as a songwriter and lyricist. With tracks like My Way and Coming Home, Bane didn't just sing, he wrote. He began contributing lyrics that reflected his personal struggles and inner thoughts. The metaphors, the emotional layers, the storytelling, each line carried echoes of everything he had experienced. Fans noticed. They praised not just his vocals, but the heart behind his words. This creative involvement didn't go unnoticed by industry insiders either. Music critics highlighted Bane's emotional delivery and authentic lyricism as standout elements within Just B's discography. His fellow members often mentioned how Bane would stay behind after rehearsals, scribbling lines into notebooks, humming melodies into his phone. chasing that perfect lyric that could capture what they all felt but couldn't quite express. By the end of 2021, Just B had carved out a loyal fan base, affectionately called Only B. For many fans, Bane became the emotional backbone of the group. His vulnerability on stage, his depth in interviews, his humor in variety shows, it all painted a picture of an artist who had not only found his voice but was unafraid to use it. Looking back, Bane's debut year wasn't just about charts or trophies. It was about proving to himself and to the world that every late-night practice, every rejection, every tear shed in silence had led him exactly where he was meant to be. And while Just B was only getting started, Bane was already laying the groundwork for something even bigger, something more personal, something that would soon shake the entire K-pop industry to its core. And now, we want to know what you think. Do you remember the first time you heard Bane's voice? Which Just B performance gave you goosebumps? And most importantly, could you have guessed that behind every note and every lyric was a secret Bane had been carrying all along? Tell us your favorite Bane moment, and get ready, because the next chapter is about to change everything. By 2024, Bane had already carved out a name for himself as the emotional core of Just B. But in the fiercely competitive world of K-pop, standing still was never an option. Fans knew him as the main vocalist, the lead dancer, the artist with heart, but industry recognition? That still felt just out of reach. Bane needed something that would push his artistry to the next level. And that's exactly when opportunity knocked, in the form of JTBC's highly anticipated survival show, Build Up, Vocal Boy Group Survivor. Unlike previous survival shows that focused on full group formations, Build Up was different. This wasn't about dance battles or popularity votes. It was about one thing, and one thing only: vocals. Raw, unfiltered, undeniable vocal talent. The premise was simple but brutal. Solo vocalists from different agencies would compete, forming temporary project groups, battling round after round until only the strongest survived. For Bane, this was both exciting and terrifying. He wasn't just representing himself anymore. He was representing Just B and years of relentless hard work. The stakes were higher than ever. If he failed, millions would watch him fail. But if he succeeded, this could be the breakthrough moment he'd been chasing. From the very first episode, Bane knew he was entering a different kind of arena. The vocalists were top tier, many with more years of experience, formal training, and bigger fan bases. But Bane had grit. He poured everything into every performance, whether it was delicate ballads that showcased his control and emotional delivery, or powerhouse notes that pushed the limits of his range. Bane stepped onto that stage week after week, with something to prove. The producers took notice. Vocal coaches praised his tone, rich, clear, full of emotion. Fellow contestants respected his discipline. And most importantly, viewers started rooting for him. Social media lit up after each episode. Clips of Bane's performances began circulating online, gaining traction with fans who had never followed Just B before. Midway through the competition, the show introduced a new twist. Contestants had to form temporary project teams for the final rounds. Bane was selected as a core member of the newly formed group, the Partners. The lineup was strong, vocalists with different strengths, but it was Bane who quickly emerged as the group's emotional anchor and vocal leader. Together, the Partners tackled complex arrangements, blending harmonies, and executing emotionally charged performances that left both judges and audiences stunned. Bane's leadership was evident, not just in how he sang, but in how he supported and guided his teammates. His stage presence became more commanding, his vocal technique sharper than ever. Week after week, the Partners climbed the rankings. What started as a long shot turned into a serious contender for the top spot. By the time the final live broadcast aired, the Partners were announced as the second-place winners of the entire competition. It wasn't the championship title, but it was more than enough to cement Bane's position as one of the most respected young vocalists in the industry. The fan response was immediate and overwhelming. Just B's fanbase, Only B, exploded with pride. New fans who discovered Bane through the show started diving into Just B's discography, binge-watching old performances, and flooding his social media with messages of support. Music critics praised his growth, highlighting how Bane's tone and vocal control had evolved to professional heights. Industry insiders began mentioning him in conversations about rising vocalists to watch. But perhaps the most noticeable change was Bane himself. His image shifted from soft-spoken rookie to confident artist. On stage, he stood taller. In interviews, he spoke with more certainty. The boy who once doubted if he'd ever debut was now a recognized vocalist with a proven track record. And stylistically, Bane began embracing a more mature, sophisticated aesthetic, ditching the youthful styling for darker tones, sleeker silhouettes, and a performance persona that felt both powerful and unapologetic. Build Up didn't just give Bane exposure, it gave him validation. It proved, to fans, to critics, and maybe most importantly, to himself, that he wasn't just surviving in this industry, he was thriving. And as 2024 came to a close, the next chapter of Bane's journey was about to begin. One that would not only define his career, but make K-pop history. If Bane's story has inspired you even half as much as it's inspired us, don't forget to hit that like button, share this video with your fellow Only B fans, and subscribe to our channel for more untold stories from the world of K-pop. Which moment from Bane's journey moved you the most? Drop a comment below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. April 14th, 2025. For most fans, it started like any other concert night. Just B was in Los Angeles, halfway through their world tour. The energy inside the venue was electric. Fans filled the arena, waving banners, light sticks glowing in every color imaginable. The setlist had been intense, the choreography flawless, the vocals raw and live. But no one, not a single person in that crowd, could have predicted what was about to happen next. As the final encore song ended, the members gathered at center stage to share their usual closing messages. Laughter echoed through the hall as each member took turns thanking fans, promising to return soon. Then, it was Bane's turn. At first, his voice trembled just slightly, noticeable only to those who knew him well. His hands shook as he gripped the microphone tighter than usual. He took a deep breath and then, he said the words that would rewrite K-pop history. I want to say I'm gay, and I'm proud to be part of the LGBTQ+ community. For a split second, the entire arena went silent. You could feel the air pause, as if time itself was holding its breath. And then, it happened. A wave of cheers so loud, it drowned out everything else. Fans screamed, some broke into tears. Pride flags shot up from the audience, like they had been waiting, just waiting, for this exact moment. The faces in the crowd told 1,000 stories: shock, joy, relief, pride, all mixing together in a storm of emotion. People hugged strangers next to them, some knelt to the floor sobbing. Others chanted his name over and over, Bane, Bane, Bane. The energy in that room was unlike anything K-pop had ever seen before. Within minutes, video clips of Bane's announcement flooded social media. The hashtags Proud of Bane K-pop history and LGBTQ and K-pop started trending worldwide. Fan cams from every angle surfaced, each capturing the exact second the crowd erupted. Major news outlets like CNN, Billboard, and The Guardian reported the story within hours. LGBTQ+ advocacy groups released statements of support. Even non-fans, people who had never listened to a Just B song, started sharing the clip, calling Bane's coming out a turning point for global entertainment. Backstage, the atmosphere was just as emotional. Fellow members of Just B wrapped Bane in tearful hugs. Staff members clapped, some cried. Blue Dot Entertainment wasted no time releasing an official statement the next day. We support Bane's decision to live authentically. We stand by him as an artist and as a person. It wasn't just a corporate PR line. The members themselves posted messages on their personal social media accounts. One simply wrote, "Always proud of you, brother." For fans, especially LGBTQ+ fans, Bane's courage was more than just a headline. It was validation, representation, proof that someone from their world could stand on a K-pop stage and speak their truth without shame. But of course, not everyone celebrated. Back in South Korea, the response was complicated. While international fans flooded comment sections with love, parts of Korean social media reacted with confusion, even anger. Conservative netizens questioned whether Bane's coming out would hurt Just B's image. Some called for boycotts. Others left hateful messages on fan forums. It became a hot topic on entertainment news shows. Talk show panels debated whether the industry was ready for an openly gay idol. But Bane stayed silent through the noise. Not out of fear, but out of focus. He showed up at every scheduled event, performed like nothing had changed, smiled for cameras, held fan signs, waved at airport paparazzi. In every interview, he stood tall, letting his music and his actions speak louder than any hate. In the weeks that followed, something even more powerful happened. More Korean fans, especially younger ones, began stepping up to defend him online. LGBTQ+ Korean youth posted TikToks and tweets sharing how much Bane's coming out meant to them. International artists, LGBTQ+ icons from around the world sent messages of support. For many, Bane became more than just an idol. He became a symbol, a reminder that visibility matters, that representation saves lives, that one voice, even shaking, can create an earthquake. And as Just B continued their tour, playing shows in Tokyo, Bangkok, and back home in Seoul, one thing became clear. K-pop had changed forever. And Bane was the reason why. In the history of K-pop, there will always be a before Bane and an after Bane. By coming out as gay while still an active member of a boy group, Bane didn't just make a personal statement, he detonated one of the last taboos holding the industry back. For decades, K-pop thrived on carefully constructed images. Idols were expected to be everything to everyone, charismatic but uncontroversial, bold but never too real. Romance, off limits. Sexual identity, unspoken. Authenticity, only when it fit the script. But on that stage in Los Angeles, Bane rewrote the entire playbook. For years, the global K-pop community had speculated, hoped, and waited for this moment, when someone from inside the tightly controlled idol system would stand in the spotlight and speak their truth. Bane didn't just step up, he stood tall, under stadium lights, in front of cameras, surrounded by fans, and in front of an entire industry that had mastered the art of silence. The international LGBTQ+ community responded instantly and emotionally. From New York to London, from Tokyo to Bangkok, queer fans flooded social media, sharing deeply personal stories about how Bane's courage had given them hope. Hashtags like Proud of Bane, LGBTQ in K-pop, and K-pop needs diversity weren't just trending, they were exploding across platforms. Prominent LGBTQ+ musicians, activists, and even celebrities outside the K-pop sphere sent public messages of support. Editorials around the world hailed him as a trailblazer. Fan reaction videos poured onto YouTube, viewers breaking down in tears, thanking Bane for giving them visibility in a world that often made them feel invisible. But Bane's impact went far beyond that one historic night in Los Angeles. Major media outlets like Billboard, CNN, BBC, and The Guardian published in-depth articles about him. Long-form essays dissected the cultural significance of his announcement. Music journalists called it a seismic shift in K-pop history. Social commentators within South Korea, many of whom had previously avoided LGBTQ+ discussions, began cautiously acknowledging that the industry and the nation had entered uncharted territory. And there's another reason why Bane's story resonated so deeply: his unique ability to connect across cultures. From the earliest days of his career, Bane had positioned himself as more than just a Korean idol. He became a multilingual communicator, a bridge between languages, borders, and identities. Throughout countless fan meetings, V-Lives, and behind-the-scenes content, Bane showcased his ability to speak directly to fans in English, Japanese, and Chinese, all in addition to his native Korean. In international fan profiles, interviews, and K-pop wiki entries, Bane is frequently described as one of the most linguistically versatile idols of his generation. Whether it was casually switching to English during fan Q&As, dropping playful Japanese phrases during concerts, or offering heartfelt messages in Mandarin to Chinese fans, Bane made it clear, no matter where you're from, no matter what language you speak, you belong here. For LGBTQ+ fans around the world, that mattered more than words can say. Being able to hear, in your own language, that your favorite idol sees you, supports you, and stands with you, became an emotional lifeline for many. Industry insiders began referring to Bane as a cultural connector, an artist who didn't just break linguistic barriers but emotional ones too. In fan communities, he's now seen as a symbol not just of queer visibility, but of what global fandom can look like when authenticity leads the way. But Bane's legacy isn't about hashtags or viral moments or even media praise. It's about the ripple effect. His coming out forced uncomfortable but necessary conversations inside K-pop agencies, places that had for years prioritized image control over human truth. Topics like LGBTQ+ inclusion, idol mental health, and the suffocating pressure of forced heteronormativity suddenly became impossible to avoid. Young trainees began asking questions. Industry veterans began speaking out more freely. Even fan discussions shifted, moving from "Are there gay idols?" to "How can we support them?" And as for Bane himself, he didn't retreat. In the months following his announcement, Bane returned to the studio. He kept writing, kept recording, kept showing up for Just Be promotions with the same professionalism and heart that fans had always loved. Rumors swirled about potential solo projects, LGBTQ+ advocacy work, and possible collaborations with openly queer artists from both Korea and abroad. Bane, as always, stayed quiet about the speculation. But fans know better. They know that behind the scenes, he's building something bigger than a comeback stage. Because Bane's story isn't over. It's still unfolding. One lyric, one performance, one brave choice at a time. With every interview where he speaks with calm, unapologetic pride. With every fan interaction where he offers love and solidarity. With every song where his voice carries both melody and message. Bane continues to redefine what's possible for queer representation in K-pop. And now, as fans, as an industry, and as a global audience, we're all left with one lingering, powerful question. Do you think Bane's bravery will inspire a new generation of idols to come out? Will this one beautiful, fearless moment change K-pop forever? Maybe the answer is already unfolding, right in front of us. Bane's story isn't just about music or fame or scandal. It's about breaking chains, challenging an entire industry, and giving a voice to thousands who felt invisible for far too long. Whether you're a K-pop fan, an LGBTQ+ ally, or someone still figuring out your place in the world, Bane's journey reminds us all, courage starts with one person, one moment, one decision to live unapologetically. But the story doesn't end here. K-pop is changing, conversations are happening, and more voices are rising. So, what do you think? Will Bane's bravery inspire the next generation of idols? Will more artists find the strength to be true to themselves? If you believe these stories matter, if you want to see more voices being heard, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell. Together, let's keep breaking barriers, one story at a time.